Good morning. How are you?
Big win last night.
It was, but before we get to that,
yes?
What do you think Josh Brolin makes for that commercial? I hear that commercial almost every time I turn on the TV or the radio.
Yes.
I mean, he's got that silky smooth voice.
Yes, similar. I would say similar money to what the Yodel guy here in Boston makes.
Oh,
yeah.
Chris Curtis.
Nowhere near it.
Speaking of advertising, they had a close up of Austin Matthews on the Toronto bench, and on the side of his helmet was Pizza Pizza. Isn't that going a little too far? Pizza on his helmet.
Get
that money.
At least they didn't put that on Pat Maroon's helmet.
Hey,
Oh, ouch.
fat jokes from Shine.
No, it's a reference to the
worst.
Jack Edwards joke.
Nothing worse
Not
than
nice, Shime.
a reformed fat person.
love Pat.
There's
He's been great.
nothing worse. Shime. Zip it. So I don't know. Is Marchand getting calls? I thought it was the other way last night.
I thought the referee just sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was just terrible. I mean, he was, made calls that shouldn't have been made, and he missed calls that should have been made. It was just a poorly officiated game. And yes, on the one goal, with Frederick goal, Marchand absolutely ripped out the legs of Bertuzzi, and it didn't make any difference. But the goal actually was a crappy goal. It was short side, and the goaltender missed it completely. But in the middle of the ice in clear view, it was Bertuzzi getting taken down by Marchand. That's just one of many missed calls in that game by the official, or misplayed situations. He was tough. It was a tough night.
Speaking of Samsonov, we were talking about this earlier. Should it be a penalty in the NHL if a goaltender shakes his mask off to stop play?
Well, yeah, it should be. It should be a delay of game. If he does it intentionally and he's looking for a stoppage, that should be the way it goes.
Mike, when you look at this game through the first three games, what do you think the key is for the Bruins to win this series, that your takeaway from what you've seen so far?
I think they need to get more out of Pasternak and Zacha. I don't think they played very well. They're both minus players. I think their defense has been a little porous. Lindholm should have had coverage on Bertuzzi coming out of the corner last night on an important goal. They've got to shake that. Well, they got to shake it down a little bit in the defensive zone. Shattenkirk is getting a lot more ice time than he deserves. This is a guy that's a minus player consistently throughout his career. He's a -2. He's good on the power play. Keep him on the power play, but don't give me 5-on-5. I think they're a little shaky still 5-on-5. And is there any question who should be the goaltender in Game 4?
Well, I was going to get to that. I feel like Shime and I are both on Swayman Island with Wiggy, and is it your opinion that you just go forward with him?
I absolutely think so. And you know what? I love what he's saying. When they asked him before Game 1, what do you feel about getting the start? He said it's about time. And last night I watched him afterwards, and he was, he said, I just see the puck. I don't care if it's alternating or not. I just want to be focused in. He's clearly wanting to be the number one goaltender. There's no doubt about it. And the Bruins better be careful, because if they don't give him that opportunity, when he comes to the end of this contract, maybe it's time to look at other options. But I think he's just, when he gets zoned in, and he's zoned in most nights, he's as good as there is.
But Mike, he said in the same breath that he needs to make sure that his body's ready. For a guy that has been able to have that rest in between games to make sure that his body stays fresh.
Courtney is defending that wall when it comes to the rotation.
Yeah. I'd be nervous to see if you just went with him full time, that maybe his body would break down more than we think.
It doesn't have to be forever. I mean, if he has a tough time, but right now he's got 2 days off, and that's plenty of time to recover. He's only early mid-20s, and there's no doubt in my mind that he can come back. Almost every goaltender in the playoffs is going to play every game. And Swayman can do it. He's at an age where he can do it. But if he falters, they know they have a great alternative. But I think they should just, go full steam ahead and find a way to keep him in the net. And if something happens, if it starts to stumble, if he looks like he's tired, then they've got another guy to go to.
Mike, when you look at this series, and the thing that I noticed with Toronto is they're very sloppy with the puck, and you're able to capitalize on that win last night and put you up in this series. I think the biggest thing, obviously, in Game 4 is for the Bruins to not allow Toronto to even get a little bit of breath. Even though you did win a game up there, I don't think you give them any confidence at all. Do you agree with that?
I thought they were better in game 3 with a little bit more pressure, but not enough. I mean, I think they can do better in that department. And you're right. They have to go after it. They can't relax because they won a pivotal game 3. They have to go get after game 4. And they have to be better in their own zone. They just have to be tighter, make fewer mistakes. Last night, Pasternak on the Nyes goal, the first one, he was back checking and he just decided to go back at the puck carrier in the neutral zone. And who gets the puck? Marner who was the guy that he was covering. And all of a sudden the puck's in the back of the net. They can't make sloppy mistakes. They have to stay tight. But the first thing is, and you're right, put the pressure on. If there's a weakness for Toronto, it's their blue line and their goaltending, and so get after it.
With Peak being week to week now, they call up Mason Lohrei. How do you think that went?
Just so. I mean, and it's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid coming in. He hasn't been with the team for a while, but I thought he was just so. I'm not a huge Grizzly guy, but I think he, in this situation with his experience, would have been a better selection if they could, make it that way. But I thought their defense was just okay last night, and they have some vulnerabilities back there. I've really been disappointed with Lindholm. I mean, I thought he was going to be, at times he's looked like a number one defenseman. Now he looks sometimes like he's lost, and he needs to pick it up. He's a big part of that. He's going to see key moments, and he's got to be good in those key moments.
The Nyes goal, they looked like Geekie needed to change because they had him out.
Yeah, there was nothing to do with that. I heard that on TV, and I said, "You're wrong." Pasternak was at the red line, and he had Marner, and he switched to go back to the puck carrier. He was hunting the puck. It had nothing to do with the change. It had to do with a bad decision by Pasternak. They had numbers back originally, but when Pasternak went on a hunt with his posse to get the puck, he left people vulnerable, and that's how it turned into a sort of a 3-on-2, which was not really well played by the Bruins defense, including Shattenkirk.
Mike, you talked about the goalie situation. I've been on one goalie from day one, and I believe that's Swayman, but it seems like, and I don't have confidence in Montgomery to make that decision, it seems like he is going to go with Linus. When you look at that...
Well, where are you getting that from?
I just because of everything he said, right? I don't think Courtney's brought this up.
I mean, prior to last night's game, I mean, how can you not look at Jeremy Swayman and have a really tough decision to make?
I felt like you could have looked at him after game 1 and had that same type of decision to make.
You didn't. You at least gave Linus Ullmark a game. I mean,
and he looked really good.
He looked good. Curtis said this the other day. Jeremy Swayman looks excellent.
Right, A+ versus B+.
Well, I guess, Mike, my question is that, and I had said this, I think all this does is create more of an issue, the fact that he did rotate the goalies in the first 2 games.
Yeah, I don't know if they had a game plan. Did they have a game plan going into the playoffs that they were going to rotate? And usually, I mean, last year they started with Ullmark first, but this time they went to Swayman. And if they went to Swayman first, does that mean they have more confidence in him in game 1 than just maybe marginally than Ullmark? They go to Ullmark. I don't love it. I love the fact that they have 2 good goaltenders, but especially if I'm Swayman and I'm a young buck that's trying to make a mark here and has played extremely well here down the stretch. It's going to irritate me at some point or another, but he seems to be mature enough to handle it. But, I've been on record that I think they should run with the goaltender if he's got the hot hand. And if something stumbles or if he gets hurt, then great to know that you've got somebody else to rely on. But for me, I'd make that decision, and I'd make it clear to everybody. Right now, it's a guessing game, and everybody's guessing, including maybe not the goaltenders. Maybe they've kept them informed. But it seems to me that if they could go to Swayman for a stretch here, they might find themselves with an A+ goaltender consistently.
Mike, you're my hockey guru. And you've been in these rooms. You've been a coach. You've been a GM. Nobody would know better than you. Do you get any advantage by having the Leafs play a guessing game of whether it'll be Swayman or Ullmark in net?
No, none whatsoever. Like they've seen both goaltenders. It's called videotape. They just run it over and over again whenever they know who's going to be the goaltender, and they should be ready for either one of those two guys. And actually, to be honest with you, there's not much difference in terms of style. They're both sort of controlled goaltenders. Come out to cut down the angle. Don't overplay it. Don't handle it all that much, but handle it okay when they do get their mitts on it. But there's nothing. I don't see any glaring weakness with either goaltender. And let's throw it over his glove. He's weak on the blocker side. Shouldn't be any problem getting ready to play whoever goes in goal for the Bruins, because they've seen him enough on tape, if not in person. I know Swayman had most of the games this year against Toronto, but it's easy enough to find a history of how Ullmark plays it.
You and I have been critical of him at times. Is Jake DeBrusk setting himself up here for a pretty good deal here with the Bruins, based on his play so far in the playoffs?
I don't know. I mean, does this mean you really trust him? I mean, of all of a sudden now, I guess in key moments, give me a little bit more time with that one and ask me that question in a couple of weeks, because he seems to run hot and then run away, and I don't like that in players. I want my players to be consistent and to be counted on, but he certainly has moments where he makes a big difference, and last night he was one of them.
Mike, you mentioned consistent and relied upon. Danton Heinen, how did nobody sign this guy before the season? He's not a world beater, but he has been essential to the Bruins this entire season. He's played almost every game. He has punched well above his weight class in terms of what you should be asking of him and what he has been doing for you. I mean, that Brad Marchand goal last night was primarily because of what he was able to do in the corner, getting that puck. How important has he been for this team?
Oh, he's been extraordinarily important and a great pickup, and he made a great pass to Marchand, who also made a great shot. But how do the Leafs leave Brad Marchand alone 15 feet in front of the goaltender with that, in that situation? It was remarkable. But Heinen has been terrific. Frederick has been terrific. I mean, both of those guys are playing, I think at a level that nobody expected them to, and credit to the scouting staff of the Bruins for picking Heinen back up and giving him an opportunity. Sometimes when you get that opportunity and your confidence grows, you all of a sudden start to blossom as a player. It seems to be the case here with Danton Heinen.
Jim Montgomery had an issue pregame with the amount of time they have to spend in Toronto.
Oh, come on. Stop it. Jesus. I mean, there's great restaurants there. A lot of these guys are from Toronto. They have family there. Take them on a day trip if you want. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Okay.
I heard Toronto's a beautiful place. I've never been there. That's where Drake's from, and he talks highly about it.
You need a passport. I don't know if you know that about
I have a passport.
Going to other countries.
Well, if you don't want to go to Canada to see Drake, you can have a Boston cream yodel from Drake's Cake.
All right, Mike Milbury. Well, the Bruins have they've gotten home ice back. So
yeah, a great chance here for them. Don't just let it slip away. I mean, an opportunity to get a stranglehold on this and maybe close it out at home, and then he'll have more complaints about time off at the end of the series.
All right, that's Mike Milbury. We'll talk to you again next week.